Hey everybody, it's Maria, and I'm sorry it's been a while since I've done a video. I'm finally getting my voice back after last week of Are You Kidding Me? Everything that went wrong, or could go wrong, went wrong. It was just rough. So we're moving forward, and I'm doing Top 5 Wednesday, the most underrated books. As per usual, I am cheating and recommending 6 books because I am a rule breaker. First up is You Learn by Living by Eleanor Roosevelt. Well, Eleanor Roosevelt is definitely not underrated. She's probably one of our best, if not our best, first lady we've ever had. This book does not get enough play these days, and I actually had our library purchase it, and then I found it on a shelf on sale in December and bought it for myself because I wanted to underline all the things and write in the margins. And this is the Harper Perennial Olive Edition. I just think it's adorable. I'm not a huge collector of certain editions, but this one I liked. So read Eleanor Roosevelt. She's great, people. Next is The Humans by Matt Haig. I heard about this first on Jen Campbell's channel, probably last year or the year before, maybe even. And it's basically Mork and Mindy with a little drama twist and some poetry added in. It's an alien that enters a human body and what his experience is like. And it just made me feel all the feelings. And it also starred me on Emily Dickinson. So, bonus. Next is Donald Miller's A Million Miles in a Thousand Years. I love this cover because it's actually bicycle spokes, but it looks like it could maybe be a Ferris wheel or something. Anyway, what I loved about this book is Donald Miller wrote Blue Like Jazz. And while it wasn't my favorite book, a lot of people in the Christian community thought it was phenomenal. He got all kinds of press, and then he didn't know what to do. I think it's really hard to do something amazing, but it's really, really hard to do something amazing twice. And he was kind of feeling the pressure of what that would look like for a writer. So he talks about that a little bit, which I appreciate. But this is kind of his story of how he worked with the movie people to make his book into a movie and how that looks different for movie people. So if you're interested in movies, this is also kind of a really cool thing. But in it, he talks about how main protagonists have to keep being pushed and challenged and pushed out of their comfort zone, and there has to be catalysts for change. Otherwise, you have a really boring story. And he's also using this to talk about how you want to make your own choices for your own life. So I really appreciated this and made me think very differently about my own life. And I don't hear enough people talking about it. It's great. And it's got a cheery cover. This is another one. All 3 of the books that I have, I borrowed from my library first. And then when I knew I was going to have to reread them or reread them and mark them up, I bought my own copies. So there's a little saver tip for you. These next ones are also phenomenal. The Circle by Dave Eggers, which is technically not underrated now because it's going to be made into a movie in March with Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. So I don't think they can screw it up. I'm pretty excited about it. But for a really long time, nobody talked about this book. And while I haven't liked everything I've read by Dave Eggers, he's a different kind of writer, and The Circle really hit my buttons. It's kind of a little dystopian in feel. It's the idea of Google or a company like Google taking over your life, and the idea of if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, did it happen? By the same token, if you don't report what you do on social media, did it really happen? Was it important? And this book made me think a lot about how I interact with my technology and how I don't want to be owned by my technology. So I really appreciated The Circle. Definitely read it before it becomes a movie because it's the rule, right? Next is The Girl Who Came Home by Hazel Gaynor. And this book and the next 2 companion books that I'm going to recommend, I just recommended for my friend Krista over at Books and Jams. She's doing a challenge this year where she asked 12 BookTube friends to recommend books. And these ones are phenomenal. They do not get enough play. The Girl Who Came Home is a Titanic historical fiction, and it's told between 2 time frames, current and past. So you don't really know who survived or who's talking. You don't know exactly what happened on the boat. And with the people on the boat, obviously, the Titanic sank, so spoiler alert. But it was a really well done book, and it made me feel like I was feeling the salt air, and I read it right before we went to Ireland and got to see the Titanic Museum. So that was also kind of a cool thing, and it has a pretty cover too. The last 2 books I want to talk about are companion books, so they're kind of a cheat, but they're Rachel Joyce's Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry and The Love Song of Queenie Hennessy. Harold Fry was just this guy who gets a letter about a woman he knows, Queenie, who is slowly dying in hospice, and he wants to go and see her because they have some unfinished business. But he is on one side of England and she is on the other, and so he starts walking and walking, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Forrest Gump and A Man Called Uwe mixed together, maybe. It's kind of a spiritual pilgrimage because he's going back over his choices and why he did what he did and how he could have done things differently. And it was just a really cool story. Queenie Hennessy is the story from the person who is in hospice and her point of view. So you don't have to read them together or in a certain order. If you do, I would probably start with Harold Fry, just so the suspense is a little bit there, but and you know kind of more of the context, you care more, but you don't have to read, but you should. They're both good. So those are my most underrated books. What are yours? I really want to know. Obviously, a lot of booktube, sometimes you get echo chambers of the same books. And so I think this is a really great tag to do. I'll link below to the Goodreads group below, as well as to Krista's channel. You can see her. And because it's January, and she did her drawing to see whose book she would read, she actually picked my book first. So that was kind of a cool, like, I didn't win anything this week, except Krista's, TBR channel jar thing. So there you go. You don't win them all. I'll talk to you guys later, and yeah, happy reading. Bye.